In the extra credit assignment for this week, you're supposed to create 6 divs and you're going to use the transform and transition properties to make them do cool things when you mouse over them. I'm picking up where I left off with the first part of the homework this week, where you just had to make 6 divs, none of which could look like rectangles and all had different colors. And the only thing I've done here is change the sizes. Before, when I was doing this, I had them all the same size. Now I've just changed their sizes. So we've got quite a zoo of different div shapes here. And I've got one hover rule, pseudo selector rule still in place here for the first div where it turns red. What I want to do is apply some transform rules. So I'm just going to focus on my CSS here. You can see I've got a rule for the body where I've made the background color blue. I've got a rule for all divs to make them slightly see-through so you can see where they overlap. And then here's my div1 rule, and there's similar rules for all of these with sizes, a background color, and a border radius to make the shapes. But let me go down to the hover pseudo selector rules. So right now, all I've got is something in for div1, and it turns red when I hover over it. We want to experiment with the transform property. There are a few things transform can do. First, you type the word transform, and then if you want to change the size of something, you can type in scale. And then in parentheses, if I want it to be twice as big, I would just put in a 2. Let's see how that works. Yeah, it does. It jumps up all of a sudden. I'd like that movement to be slow and smooth. So I'm going to try putting in a transition effect here. And we'll apply that to all of the things. So both the changing red and the changing the scale should happen over 2 seconds. Let's see how that works. Nice. Yeah, so you get that nice, smooth, animated effect. So let's try some other ones for the different divs. So here, I think we'll change background color to goldenrod, and we'll do a different kind of transform. So another kind of transform would be a rotate. So we're going to type in rotate, and then in parentheses, a certain number of degrees. So let's say 90 degrees. So just like that, 90 DEG. And again, we'll do a transition. In fact, let's just copy this. Okay, let's see what happens. Well, nothing's happening there. I'm going to try that trick where I force the HTML to update. And there we go. So it turns on its side 90 degrees and turns a different color. So that's pretty cool. So this one's growing, this one's turning. Let's do one for div 3. This one, I'm going to do a different background color as well. And we'll do, let's see, we'll do black for this one. And then let's try another transform. So in addition to scale and rotate, there's also translate. And this just means to move in a certain direction. If you put in one value here, it's going to move on the X. So let's do 100 pixels on the X axis. Let's see what happens there. Whoops. Again, we'll force the HTML to update. It turned black, but it didn't move. Have I got something wrong with the translate? Oh, it doesn't say transform. It says transform. There we go. Let's try that. So you can see it jumps 100 pixels. Let's make that transition here. We've got it moving and turning black. So lots of cool looking effects you can make here. And then you can combine. So I'm just going to do one more here. I won't finish the whole thing, otherwise this video will be too long. But let's do one for div 4 here. And let's see if we can combine multiple transforms. So I'm going to change the background color again to green, and then we'll do a transform where we do the scale up to 3 times, and then where we do a rotate of 180 degrees, and let's just go for broke here. Let's throw in a translate too of 100 pixels on the X and 100 pixels on the Y. All right, so let's see what we get here. Again, I'm gonna have to force the HTML to update. Okay, jumping around here, I forgot to put in the transition, and that might be too big of a transition because it moves out of the place where the mouse is hovering. Aha, but it turns green, and it definitely moves down. It does the translation. I'm not seeing it do the scale or the rotate, so I'm not sure what's happening there. Maybe you can only do one at a time. Huh. So what happens if we remove this one? So this is the translate. I'm going to take it out. Yeah, so now the rotate is working. So I guess what happens is you use one transform at a time, and whichever is the last one is the one that holds. Well, that's good to find out. So make your own dancing divs by fooling around with the transform and the transition and the hover pseudo selector, and have some fun with it.